You're listening to Cancer Convos with Brady and Stacy. Hey, good morning, everybody. You're listening to Cancer Convos on urlradio.net, brought to you by Bismarck Cancer Center and Chelsey Smith Cosmetics. I'm Stacy Sturm, and I have a very special guest today, a longtime friend of mine. Now, Sue, I was trying to think, when I first met you, was it through like BSC or the newspaper? I don't remember what it was, but it would have been probably like 30 years ago.
It was a long time ago because you helped me set up a webpage when I so ignorantly ran for Morton County Commission.
That's right. God, I totally forgot about that.
Yep, just out of the newspaper at that time. And that would have been about 2009, but I knew you before then.
Yeah,
so
I think
remember.
You were a columnist for one of the newspapers I was editing, possibly. I think is how I first met you. Is I edited a couple different newspapers, 3 or 4 different newspapers. I forget it until people will bring me, and this probably happens to you, people will bring me copies of something I wrote or did, and I was like, oh my God, I totally forgot about that. I don't even remember writing for that newspaper.
When I worked at the newspaper, people come up to me all the time and they're like, oh my gosh, I love this and this and this. And I'm like, I don't remember
any of that.
It was only a week ago and I didn't remember it.
But yeah, so I think you were probably a columnist for one of the newspapers I edited way early on in my career, is my guess. And I always found you to be so much fun. You were just such a blast. And I guess over the years then, being in the same kind of field, we just always have kind of bumped into each other throughout the years. So crossing paths. That's the way it goes. But now, unfortunately, you're on my show because we were talking before.
Now we have something else in common.
We do have something else in common.
Something that I'd like to swear about, but I just will refrain at the moment.
Hey, I do all the time. It's absolutely okay. So, Sue, tell us what kind of cancer you were diagnosed with and how you found out.
Weirdly enough, I wanted to run a marathon, like a half a marathon. I love to run. So in December or in 2022, I had probably just been retired, like in April of that year. And I thought, okay, this is cool. Now I have time to get out and walk every day. And I would walk and I would do some running and I would walk and I would do some running. And then in December of 2022, my daughter was expecting a baby and wanted me to come down for the birth of this little girl at the end of December. And I had a cough. So I didn't want to take anything down there with me. So I went to the doctor and I said, okay, I have this stupid cough. It just won't go away. And she's like, well, let's give it a little bit of time because, COVID lingers and, there's all kinds of reasons people cough. And that's what she said to me. She said that to me more than once because I've had this little dry cough for probably over a year at that time, but it was getting worse. And so I went down to Huron and saw the baby, and my daughter is married to an anesthesiologist down there, and they're like,
nice.
Go back to the doctor.
Yeah.
You should go back. So I went back and she put me on some antibiotics, which it had probably been like 12 years since I had an antibiotic,
Yeah.
And so I wasn't taking any drugs. I was trying to keep my weight down. I did farmers markets. I felt healthy, and I would do that. I would be driving down here and going, oh God, I feel so healthy. Came back. The cough didn't go away after that round of antibiotics. So we're in the middle of January now. She says, let's do a chest x-ray. And so I had my chest x-rayed the next time I went in there, and she's like, yeah, I think you got pneumonia here. Look at all this cloudy stuff in your lungs.
Oh, yeah.
I went home after 5 p.m. She called me after 5 and she said, I just heard from the radiologist who read your images, and he said you need to go in and have some more tests. So I think she scheduled probably the first CT scan that I had, and she called a surgeon friend of hers because she knew what it was.
Yeah.
And I didn't say the words out loud. I just said to my husband, there's something in my lung.
Were you thinking it though? Like, was it even on your radar at the time as a possibility?
No, I was joking about it. Like I said, daughter, I said, oh my God, probably have lung cancer. I mean, I was spouting off for the last
Yeah.
25 years about eating healthy, gardening,
Yeah.
getting out in the soil, losing weight, don't eat processed foods. I was the epitome of doing everything right.
Yeah.
I haven't had a drink in 30 years. I haven't smoked in 20 years.
Yeah.
And that surgeon called me up also after hours, I think, and said, I can't help you, call an oncologist. I don't know any freaking oncologists. What
Like you just have
am I
one
gonna
on
do?
speed
What's an
dial.
oncologist? Like there's no cancer in my family. Like we
Yeah.
have very little cancer in my whole extended family. So you're right. Didn't check it out because we didn't
No.
even think that I would be a candidate for cancer. And this tumor in my lung, which had spread to my lymph node up here in the neck and caused me a lot of pain in my jaw, was 1.5 inches big already.
Wow.
So when I finally did get an oncologist, which somebody else selected one for me because I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't know, who do you call? Like, I don't have an oncologist.
Right? Yeah. Most of the time you just call a hospital and are like, I guess I have cancer.
Well,
Can I see somebody? Yeah.
the first guy said no, like he denied the request. And so I spent a whole weekend going, holy shit, they're not going to treat me. CHI had just closed their oncology department. What am
And
I going
they
to
were
do?
so overwhelmed over at Sanford.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's insane. And
Yeah.
you can't wait a month or two when you have a
No.
tumor that's 1.5 inches big already.
No.
So I went in and saw Dr. Rocket.
That's
Um,
mine too. That's
really?
probably
Yep.
like a breach in confidentiality or something. But
Oh,
yeah,
gosh,
I
I hope
actually,
not.
no, I
But
actually, that's a good thing because when I had to switch over too, I asked an oncology nurse who was like, who I knew who went over there, who had been working there. And she said, you have to get Dr. Rocket. Like you have to get him. He's the best that you're going to find in Bismarck, Mandan.
and he was fairly new. He just
He
came back
was,
from a
yeah.
fellowship at Mayo.
At Mayo, yeah.
And so, but the whole thing is like you hear about people having cancer, but for crying out loud, until you've lived it, you have no idea.
Yeah.
So I would sit up in the middle of the night coughing my head off and I would write. I wrote every single little thing that happened to me. And I was glad that I did that because after several months, I finally was able to say the words out loud. I have lung cancer.
Yeah.
And up until then, it was like, I don't want to be seen. I don't want to be touched. And yet I ended up over at the Bismarck Cancer Center with Dr. Reynolds, whom I really love,
Yeah.
and had 6 weeks of daily radiation. And oh man, well, you know what that's like. You need,
No, see, I was lucky. Bob, who usually does the show with me, he had radiation. I did not have to have radiation. I didn't do that. I had chemo and then surgeries is what I had. So,
yeah, they couldn't operate. It was too big. It had already
yeah.
spread into this lymph node. Um, but the radiation like burned the skin off my neck
Yeah.
and I couldn't eat and I lost weight and they were threatening a feeding tube. And I'm like, I can live for 2 more weeks on water. And they're like, you cannot lose any more weight. You
Yeah.
can't. And so I did the radiation. It took me a long time to get over that. I did chemo simultaneously. Then we put me on immunotherapy. And
Mm.
then by the end of 2023, I was doing good. I did farmers markets. I was feeling great. I was like, thank you, God, for this time that I have with my
Mm-hmm.
grandkids. Because I had two new babies, not one, but
Yeah.
two grandkids. And then on December 24th, and I'm not kidding you, overnight. We went to a party, Christmas party with my daughter's family up here on the hill. And I'm like, God, you guys, I can't. I'm so dizzy. I mean, I ran into one of the walls in our bathroom and stubbed my toe. And the next morning, JC's like, oh my God, what happened? There's blood all over the floor. There were
Oh
bloody
no.
footprints back to bed because it was dark. I never was. I'm like, oh, I stubbed my toe. And I said, I
Yeah.
ear out of my left ear anymore. And so Jason, the anesthesiologist in the group, he's like, this happened to my sister who has breast cancer. They put tubes in her ears, drained the fluid, and she was just fine. So I'm thinking, okay, we went to a funeral and we actually walked out of the funeral because I felt so bad. Went to the
Oh,
walk-in clinic, nothing. There's nothing wrong with your ears. We're going to give you this for vertigo. Went to my regular doctor then a week later. I should have called Dr. Rocket right away because I called him and he said, come in for an MRI, like now.
now. Yep.
And he also scheduled with Dr. Reynolds right after that MRI. I went straight over to the Bismarck Cancer Center. I had 5 tumors in my brain. One of them was 2 inches long. It was on my brain stem. I went back to Dr. Rocket and I
Crazy.
said, I got to go to Mayo.
Yeah.
I got to go to Mayo. So immediately, like I'm not even thinking 2 days after I spoke with him, they had
Yeah.
already set up radiation treatments at the Bismarck Cancer Center. And Mayo called immediately. And I went in to Rochester the next day, saw an oncologist, saw a neurologist, had a genetic test done. And the next morning at 5:30, I was at the Methodist Hospital having gamma knife surgery on those tumors in my brain. That's how fast it went. And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for that. It's been a year now, and my tumors are not, they're non-existent in my
Yeah.
brain. The
Yay.
neurosurgeon was like, if I did a conference, a presentation, I would take your images. That's how happy he was with
Yeah.
them. They just disappeared. And so I told him, I said, it's all these people praying for me. It's the only thing I can think
Mm-hmm.
of. So the genetic test came back and I tested positive for a mutated KRAS gene, which is probably the most common one for smokers. But I was still pissed about it because I hadn't smoked for so long and
Right. You thought
oh,
you were done
they
with
say your
it.
lungs are supposed to heal. And they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, but sometimes when they're damaged, they're still susceptible to this. But
All it
since
takes is one little shitty
stupid
clump of
cell,
cell. Yeah. And then that's all it takes to just kick
um,
everything in. Oh,
so now I'm doing a targeted therapy that seems to be working pretty well for me. But cancer is evil and it decides when it
yeah.
mutates again. And then what's left? Like I'm at the top of I hit the glass ceiling. That's what I tell people. This is the last
Right.
FDA approved drug for my cancer.
Yeah.
So then what do I do?
Yeah.
And we know it always comes back.
I know. You just have to
Except
keep
maybe
saying
this
it does
time.
it. Just say, I tell myself probably no less than 100 times a day, I'm the 15. Because 85, my cancer was ovarian cancer. 85% of ovarian cancer patients will die. And I'm like, nope, I'm the 15. I'm the
Well,
15. And so
I
I
keep
just keep
saying,
saying it, hoping to trick my body
I know,
into
I keep saying
believing
I'm
it.
God's little miracle. Please, God,
Right? You
I'm
just have to
God's little
keep saying
miracle.
that. Yeah.
Because, I only have a 9% chance of living 5 years with the stage
Yeah.
4 Mets. So, but I just met somebody yesterday that was on the American Lung Association phone call that I was
Hmm.
on, that has lived with stage 4 lung cancer for 13 years. And so I'm
Wow.
thinking, I can do this. If
Yeah.
anybody can do this, I can do this.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so
You're
I
stubborn
think,
enough. Yeah, for
well,
sure.
and I went into this healthy, like
Yeah.
I just contracted RSV, not, you feel so good sometimes that you forget you have cancer and that your immune system is compromised.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a fever. I just had a cough again. And so I'm like, okay, I have a cold. Well, that ended up being pneumonia and RSV. And finally, it was so bad, I actually said I got to go to the hospital or to
Yeah.
the emergency room. And that was like the worst experience of my life. I could see how the end of my life would be with lung cancer, ending up in the emergency room surrounded by 6 people I didn't know, pulling blood from every freaking vein they can,
Yeah.
both arms at the same time. But the doctor that I saw before I was discharged walked in there and he's like, your list of medications only this big. And I'm like,
Yeah.
is that a problem with you people? You always bring that up. like, what the heck am I supposed to be taking? And he's
Because
like,
that's
oh,
rare.
metformin. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't even know what that
They
is.
ask me about that too. I'm like, I'm sorry, I
What
don't
is
need
it?
it. I don't know. I think it's some kind of a blood thing. So they said something about, I don't know, a lot of cancer patients end up on it and a lot of diabetic patients end up. I don't know. I take zero meds. I don't have zero. I have zero meds right now
That's awesome.
since they took me off of my daily chemo pill last March. So I'm kind of addicted to Tylenol. I'm not going to lie. I take a lot of Tylenol for
I do
aches and
not like
pains.
Tylenol. I
I don't
told him
either.
that
I don't
too.
want
Like, I
any
hate
of
that
it. I
stuff.
hate it. I hate Tylenol. I hate ibuprofen. I wish I didn't have to take any of it. But between being old
Cannabis.
and oh, okay, girl, I do that too. That's before bed. I will take that. I will take tincture before bed. And I am a proud proponent of it and I will talk about it until the day that I die that it is good great for nausea, it's great for pain,
Appetite.
appetite for sure.
And I
100%.
have stage 4 metastatic cancer. You're going to tell me I can't put something into my mouth that I want to put in?
I
Bah.
can't put a plant in to my body, but yet you just put a radioactive chemical
Right,
through.
right.
You know what though? My oncologist knows. Like and they ask me about it. Like, how often are you using it when I come in for
Yep.
my appointments? They asked me just yesterday when I had a checkup because I went in because, like you said, I felt like something was wrong, and I like better to be safe than sorry. If you're a cancer patient,
Everything that goes wrong with you, the first thought is fucking
it's
cancer
back. It's
spread.
back. Or I play it off like, well, that's just another weird side effect of the chemo. That's just another weird side effect of this. But then when things start to pile up, two or three, like go in and figure it out because I had a CT yesterday and everything thankfully is still good, but we can't figure out like why I'm feeling so crappy still. But yeah,
The time change.
is that not just, I'm glad it's not just me. I have never been affected by it really until this year. I don't know
Me
what in the
too.
hell went on.
I am
But yeah.
exhausted. So,
But
but
yeah,
then
I
again,
say medical marijuana is it's clinch. If I'm having extreme pain out of nowhere, just take a little tincture, smoke a little. And the thing is, it doesn't mess up my brain. Like I get the body thing, but I don't get a brain thing. Where I think if I was on painkillers, I would definitely have a brain thing going on. So
yep,
yeah,
I know a person in my stage 4 cancer group that actually said that that's why she thinks her brain tumors haven't come back yet because they use a daily, like she makes fudge and cookies. She said, my husband and I have one before we go to bed
yeah,
every night.
yeah. You can put it in anything. I cook a lot with it, but I mainly just take it before bed. I'll take it for bed because it kind of knocks me out, turns my brain off, gets rid of the
Yep.
pain.
And boy,
Um,
there's nothing like a good night's rest to make you feel good in
mm,
the morning.
yep,
Totally.
a
And you're
hundred
not up
percent.
all night writing in your journal. But
Sure,
I'm going to turn that into a book. Like I've been
you
blogging
should.
now for over a year, and there are people that have just started in on the journey. And right now I'm not sick, so I'm sure I'm boring them to tears. But when I was really sick and talking about nauseousness and
Yeah.
constipation and having my head screwed in a box at Mayo for that surgery, which was 90 minutes of targeted radiation, 90 minutes.
Oh my
And I
God.
still have a brain, you know? I am so grateful to those people. Like, boy, that technology was something else.
Boy, at
Really.
Mayo, I tell people if you get a chance to get in at Mayo, take it, do it. And like
And
that,
I heard
I'm
that
a
they
hundred
don't,
percent confident now that like Mayo saved my life. I've had a
yep.
lot of friends who have gone through the same kind of cancer journey as I have, that have had my cancer, gone through the same things. I'm still alive. They are not. And I'm almost 100% positive that it's because we had different paths. Mine took me to Mayo right away. When I was at CHI, my doctor was like, "No, this is beyond us. We're taking you to go, we're referring you to Mayo right away." And that was the difference in our journeys.
The
That was
thing
it.
about this whole cancer business is
Mhm.
you have to advocate for yourself.
You do.
Nobody's going to do it for you. So it took some courage for me to say, do you have a problem with me going to Mayo? And then the oncologist at Mayo was actually the person who trained Dr. Rocket.
Oh,
They're
that's
on
great.
first
Yeah.
name basis. So
Yeah.
it was like, this is a super cool God thing that I ended up there. And I
Yeah.
was released. Like the neurosurgeon is like, you've been clean now for a whole year. From now on, you can do 6 months MRIs instead of 3 months. If you make it through, like, I think one more, I
Yeah.
can put you on an annual basis. And I'm like, thank you, God. I got shit to do, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not ready to die.
Yeah. I think I have said that so many times, like throughout my journey, just like it's not my time yet. I'm not ready to go. Like, and I know nobody that gets diagnosed with cancer is like, yeah, I'm pretty excited to die. But I feel like
Yeah, no kidding.
I feel like you just know it's just not. I have stuff I need to do before I get out of here. So
And one of the things that I go to church, I believe in God, I believe in the healing power of God, I believe in the healing power of prayer. One of the guys I know at church that prays for me every day, I'm positive about that. He came up to me one day in church and he goes, "You know what?" He said, I'm so amazed at your attitude about this, that you have cancer and you have such a good attitude about it. And I'm thinking, what else is there?
yeah,
If I can't be an example of graciousness and accept my fate and do the best I can, what good is it to anybody, including myself and my family? I have to carry on.
but you probably saw those people when you were going through treatments that do not have a good attitude. I saw that too, but I was like, I never understood the point of it. I'm
Right.
already going through this horrible thing. Does being a horrible person or having a horrible attitude make it any better? It really doesn't. I feel like it makes it worse. Maybe I'm in
No,
denial about it, but all the people that I worked with, like were working on me, all my oncologist nurses are like, people don't need to understand attitude is like 80% of it. Like
well,
that's a
and why
huge
would
part of it.
you be, these people were so nice to me.
Yeah.
Like I can see why people go in to see the doctor for every stinking little thing. It's because they get treated with such love and
Yeah.
kindness that I'm like, these people don't deserve to get yelled at or see me crabby or anything like that. So
No.
I promised myself I wasn't going to lose my sense of humor. And that is kind of woven in through all of those blog posts that people read. And they're like, God, you're just doing so well. And I'm like, I know, because when I cry, I do it in the morning when I'm alone,
Yeah.
dark, get it out of the way for the day. And I have yet to actually, the one time I did cry was because they said I didn't have any tumors in my brain anymore. And I was like
Yeah.
overjoyed, but I have yet to cry when they give me a diagnosis or
Yeah.
tell me I have to do this or that. I just refuse to allow that to happen.
Does it ever just hit you out of nowhere sometimes though?
Oh my
Like
God.
I'm not a crier either when they told me I had cancer. I came back to the radio station. I told my boyfriend, I said, I was right. It's cancer. I don't know what exactly is going on, but I got to go run Urban Harvest now. Urban Harvest was going on outside the radio
Oh,
station.
jeez.
I said, I just need to process this a little bit and then we'll talk about it. But right now, let's not talk about it. I just need to get through Urban Harvest today and I need to kind of figure stuff out in my head. But
Right.
I wasn't scared. I wasn't nervous. I actually had a feeling right away everything was going to be okay. So I knew it was going to be okay, but I didn't cry about it. But every now and then, like out of
Mhm.
nowhere, I'll be working out or something and I take a break in between sets and it just hits out of
Yep.
nowhere. And I'm like, oh my God, where is this coming from?
So I always tell people that too. I'm like, the tears are just right under the surface, and I never
Yep.
know what's going to trigger them. But most of the time, it's when I'm alone and I'm thinking, I know that, in heaven there's no more sorrow and no more pain. But
Hmm.
God, why did you make this world so beautiful? I don't want to leave it, and I really want to see my grandkids grow up. I really
Yeah.
really, really want them to get to
Yeah.
know me. So my priorities have changed a lot. This has been an eye-opening experience that has changed the way I think about things, which is one of the reasons why I really got to learn to say no.
It's hard. Do you know what though? If this cancer journey has taught me anything, that is what that's what it's taught me. Before I used to be like, okay, okay. And now in a form of protection of myself and my health and my well-being, I will say no. And I've realized, Sue, no is just a sentence. It's a sentence. It's a complete
Right.
sentence. You don't need
With
an
three
excuse.
exclamation points afterward.
Yeah, no period is fine. And people might look at you for an excuse or for what's coming next. You don't need to provide it. No is
That's
okay.
exactly right. I have become very, I don't like to be the center of attention all the time. Like people are like, how are you doing? How's your cancer doing? Blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. I'm like, shut up, you know? But when the occasion arises, I am still the queen and I will pull that cancer card when I have to.
Yeah.
And here's one of the, it's just, and people are so like, this is probably really mean of me. I'm in the hospital on what I think is my deathbed here, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And this one nurse is like, oh my gosh, did you just get back from Cancun? You're so tan. And I'm like, no, it's my chemo drug. Not another word.
It's my chemo drug. No, I'm sorry. It's jaundice. My liver's failing right now.
And I didn't ever notice that, but working in the garden last summer, my cow is really dark, but I never
Yeah.
noticed that, but other people did. And they're like, you're still really brown. And I said, I know, but cancer treatments kill other cells
Yeah.
besides cancer cells. And so I feel like I was robbed of my youthful looks the past couple years because of all this
Yeah.
treatment that I've
I
had.
know.
But I don't mind being the weight I was when I was in high school. Like that's a good thing. But I do watch it carefully because once I
Yeah.
start losing weight, that's a symptom of lung cancer is
Yeah.
weight loss.
Yeah.
But yeah, last thing on earth I ever expected. And shortly after I finished my treatment with Dr. Reynolds and the Bismarck Cancer Center, which I can't say enough good things about those people over
Yeah.
there.
They are
Just
amazing. They
amazing.
really, really care about people. Yeah.
My sister was diagnosed with glioblastoma and she just died 3 weeks ago.
Oh,
So
Sue.
I know, and my youngest brother, I only have one brother left out of the five
Yeah.
of us, and he's like, "You can't die on me. I can't be alone." He's like, "What's happening here?" And I said, "I don't know." It was the weirdest thing. Like nobody, my parents didn't have cancer, my grandparents didn't have cancer. I have maybe three cousins that have cancer out of 56 on my mother's side alone. I
Yeah.
can count the Caseman side of the family. And so it just was like I said, we just weren't expecting it. And ta-da, I have to deal with it. And people are like, oh, you're so brave. And oh, you have to go through all this stuff. And I don't know how you do it. And I'm like, you do it because you have to do it.
Yeah, when you're not given a choice. It's not really I tell people all the time too. I'm like, it's not bravery, it's necessity. It's
Right.
like
You
you
just
do
got
what
to
you
do
have
it.
to do. Yeah. I would love to see myself as this like brave superhero, but basically you're just trying to survive. It's not
No
it's
kidding.
I
In
don't
my
want to
mind,
die, so I have to do something else.
in my mind, it's the nursing staff and the
Yeah.
radiologists and the doctors that are the heroes in this
Yeah.
scenario. I don't know how we're doing time-wise, but when I had that gamma knife, the doctor was here. There was a nurse here holding my hand. There was another nurse standing behind her. They shoot Novocaine into 4 areas of your head and it's running down your face. And they're like, close your eyes and close your mouth. And they're sticking needles in your brain. And then the box goes over your head and I could
Oh
tightening the
God.
screws. And I'm like, did I break your fingers off? Like holding on to the
Yeah.
nurse's hands? Like she wanted to make sure that I wasn't gonna interrupt what was going on. And so, yes, I made it through that. And when I think about it, I get goosebumps and I hope to God I never have to do it ever again. But
Yeah.
if I have to, I'm sure that they've got some good drugs out there.
Do you ever just stop and think, though, when you look back on your journey, like, God, why me? Like, holy shit, why? What did I do? Why? I don't know
All
how
the
I got
time.
stuck with this.
I have plans to, like, my dad was 95 and was only on one med when he died, you
Yeah.
know? And I wanted to be like my dad. So, like, that's a 30 more years from here. And I was like, well, maybe, well, 25, let's say. I
Yeah.
had plans for my life. Like, I had things I wanted to do and places to go and stuff. And like I said, all my priorities have changed. And now it's like I never turn my grandkids down for anything. I spend as
Hmm.
much time with them. I call them every day to see how they're doing, or they call me, and then I started that blog because it was hard for me to talk, and everybody right away, oh, if you need to talk to somebody, here's my phone number. I'm like, I have lung cancer. I don't have enough breath to sit
Yeah.
up straight. I don't have nothing, like by the
Yeah.
time I'm done with all my meetings today, I will be exhausted from all
Hmm.
talking. Because it still is hard on me, but I'm getting better at it. So
So if people want to check out your blog, where can they find your blog at, Sue?
it's indychildren.blog. That's INDY. I'm not dead yet, children.
I love that.
Dot
I'm not dead
blog.
yet. Because that's the name of your blog, right? I'm not dead yet.
Yes,
Yeah, because I've read
that's
several,
it.
and it's smart, it's funny, it's dead on. Pardon the pun. It's dead on.
Well,
Like,
and I've been working with this writers group because I'm trying to get this together into a book, and then
yeah.
I have another book, and then I have another book I'm working on. And my discipline has gone downhill, but these people are Christian women. It's a Christian women's writers group called Compel, and they're like, "Are you sure you want this title?" And I'm like, "You don't know me very well. This is the perfect title."
It is. All right. So give people the address of your blog one more time if people want to check it out.
INDY children.blog. And if you can't find me there, if you Google the root sellers, there's a link on my website. That's my farmer page, the root
Okay.
sellers, SELLERS dot
Yep.
com. And so, but if you Google my name, I'm everywhere.
Yep. Yep. It's easy to find, Sue.
Yep, yep, I'm everywhere.
Well, thanks for taking time to share your story. I hear from people all the time that they listened to the shows when they were diagnosed and it helped them, even if it's not lung cancer, it's just cancer in general. Like they listen to the shows and I know I it was the same with me. When I was diagnosed, I went online to try to find inspiration and try to find guidance
Right?
and to try to find, to try to make sense of it all. So,
And then my anesthesiologist son-in-law and his wife are like, just leave Dr. Google out of it because you are not a statistic yet. And I'm like,
yeah.
okay, I'm gonna go for the what they call the whisper edge of the curve. I want to make it past that 5 years. And I
Yeah.
I belong to this group with the Roger Maris Cancer Center, which you
Hmm.
would qualify because you're a Sanford patient.
Yeah.
We meet every other Tuesday, and I thought, I hate this stuff. I just don't like to sit on the computer for an hour and a half, but I cherish the friendship from those women and have received a lot of hope for a long life. So I'm going to go to Washington and I'm going to tell my legislators not to cut the NIH
Ugh.
funding because we need cancer research.
Yeah.
Or they need to tell us that they actually have a cure for cancer that they haven't given us yet because it's a money-making business.
Yeah.
My
100%.
med costs $17,000 a month, and
Mine was
I can't afford that.
22,000. Yeah.
I can't afford that. Without
No.
insurance, I would be dead now. So
Yeah.
so everybody out there, if you don't have any place else to put your money, donate it to the Bismarck Cancer Center or the Sanford Cancer Foundation because we need that. Those people have been so helpful
Yeah. Yeah.
with
In
all
fact,
of this.
they brought up the financial stuff at my appointment yesterday. I have never once sought it out. I just pay as much as I can every month because I'm like, I'm going to pay out, even if I live to 100, I will never pay off these cancer bills. So,
Well, and
but I just kind of was like, whatever, it is what it is. But then when I was at my appointment yesterday, Dr. Rocket was like, so I have not seen you in 4 months. Where have you been? And I said,
lucky
well,
you.
yeah, no, I lost insurance during that time. And so I finally got insurance back in January. So then I started up my appointments again in January. And he's like, he just said, one, America sucks. For our healthcare system sucks. America sucks. He goes, but two, I'm going to give you a name. This can never, ever, ever happen again. You need to talk to somebody about like assistance or help making our appointments. Even if you lose insurance again, we need to make sure this never happens again. And so they actually brought it up, and I was like, thanks. That is good to hear.
It is, and like I said, they have been more than helpful. Like, when you have that big of a drug bill,
Yeah.
I'm on Medicare, and I have prescription coverage, but the deductible for that is $2,000. And when you meet your threshold, the very first month you get meds, you got to come up with money or make payments on it. And they wrote a grant for me, so I was off the hook. And I'm like, I can ask for any better healthcare team. I cannot say enough wonderful things about the people here that have been helping me through my journey. So I hate being on first name basis though with the receptionist at the clinic, but I guess that's how that goes. Pretty soon I won't have to tell them my birthday. They'll have that all memorized.
That'll never happen.
It's tattooed on my forehead.
Oh, no matter where I'll go to my stent replacement surgery, and they'll still be like, and I have surgery every 4 months. I go in for surgery, so 3 times a year, and they still ask me the same question. Not just birthday. They're like, do you have a history of cancer? And I'm like, really? We're gonna go over this again. Why
don't you just look at my chart and see the
could you open it up like this?
Like, I never expected it. I had no idea. And so all my life I thought to myself, those poor little kids at St. Jude's that have cancer, things that they have to go through, how do they do it? And now I know. Like, now I have an insider's view, and I didn't want to be so detailed about my experience in my blog, but I have received nothing but positive comments from people about how
it helps
people. It is to know that this is what goes on behind the scenes, because people don't have a clue unless they've experienced it themselves. So and God forbid that you have to.
Here's hoping. Here's hoping you never do out there. But
so it's been a pleasure talking to you. It's good to see you again.
You too, Sue. I'm so glad I asked you. I'm like, I need to catch up with Sue anyway, but I think this will be a good show for people. Call me
anytime. I got lots of stories to tell.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks so much, Sue.
Bye-bye, everyone.
You're listening to Cancer Convos with Brady and Stacy on urlradio.net. Big thanks to the Bismarck Cancer Center and Chelsey Smith Cosmetics. See you next week.